Well, good evening, YouTube. How's your evening going? So, wanted to talk about the Versys 300. A lot of you guys seem to like the Versys 300 videos, so I figured, hey, let's talk about it some more. And what I was thinking was that we could maybe discuss how the Versys 300 might compare to, say, the Dual Sport, right? Um, as far as adventure bikes go, there's probably only a couple other out there that are in the same class because of weight and power, etc. But I see a lot of people, and nothing wrong with it, but I see a lot of people asking, about 250cc, 300cc dual sports. And while I'm a huge dual sport guy, I love them. They're my favorite bike, actually. Sometimes I listen to the person making the comment, and it seems to me that maybe they should consider something like the Versys 300 or the KTM 390 or something like that. Because most of them seem to want to do more street riding and have the ability to go off road, right? And I mean, what better bike to do that than this guy, right? Bear with me with this new camera. For those of you that have taken the Versys off road know that it's quite an amazing bike off road. And on the flip side of that, it's a street bike, which a dual sport really isn't. Um, a dual sport has to give up too much actually to be streetable and to be a good dirt bike. Obviously, a typical dual sport. Now, I'm talking about Japanese dual sports here. 250cc to 300cc's. I'm not talking about exotic Austrian, Italian things that cost $15,000. Obviously, that's a different league, and I know they're great. I have access to a KTM 500. Yeah, they're awesome. I agree, but we have people looking at bikes between $3,000 and $7,000, maybe a little more for some dual sports. And like I said, based on the description of the type of riding they want to do, it seems like 80% of it is going to be on the street, and the other 20% is going to be gravel roads and maybe some light trail riding. In my opinion, something like the Versys 300 is a far better bike for that kind of scenario. Because one, it is just an outstanding street bike. It'll run down the road all day long at 70 to 80 miles an hour. The Versys top speed is 100, so even at 80 miles an hour, you're only at 80%, right, of what it's capable of doing. And the wind protection that the little 300 provides, and I shouldn't say little because I'm going to pull the GS back in here. We're going to compare the sizes. Is pretty amazing for a bike of only 300 cc's. So that's going to beat a dual sport all day long. I don't care what dual sport you're on. The engine revs, because this is basically a derivative of the old Ninja 250 300 motor, that's something you would have to get used to. But a dual sport's going to have high revs as well, right, on the freeway. So I mean, I think that's kind of a wash. This bike is a heck of a lot smoother than a single. Even at 80 miles an hour, it's not really, there's no tingly, vibrating going on in the handlebars or the foot pegs or any of that. Whereas my DRZ over there, I mean, it's a 400, so a little bit bigger motor than what we're talking about, but still same, right? Down the freeway at 70, 75 miles an hour, she's revving pretty good. I think top speed of a DRZ is right around 90 miles an hour. So at 80, you're up there 90% of what's available, if not more. But yeah, I really feel that the Versys 300 would fit the bill for most people looking for a new bike. And the best part of that, right now, bikes aren't selling that well, or used bikes, that is. They're not selling that well at all. You can probably pick up a Versys 300 for $3,000, $3,500. I mean, that's a screaming deal, right? If you buy I guess you could buy a used dual sport as well, but you're going to spend about the same money for a decent used dual sport. So I don't know. If it's an economic thing, then I think you're going to get more bang for your buck with this guy on the used market. And things aren't selling well, so prices are down as far as used bikes go. And I don't know. I just feel that the 300 might be a better ride for most people looking to do a little bit of off-road riding. than any dual sport out there. Mainly because it's just one heck of a street bike, right? Let's talk about a con for a second. The only con that I really have about this bike, well, actually, there's two. One is the maintenance interval. I believe the valves are supposed to be checked every 7,500 miles, as well as the oil. So that means every oil change, you're supposed to actually be checking your valve clearances. And that wouldn't be such a bad thing if checking the valves wasn't such a pain in the ass, right? It literally involves completely disassembling the bike almost. Um, I've done it once, and I probably won't do it again. And if you can't do it yourself, I've heard of shops charging upwards of $1,000 to check and adjust the valves on this bike. Something to keep in mind. The other con that I have about this guy is that, like all Kawasaki's, you can't turn off the damn ABS. I mean, I don't even think you can turn it off on the KLR, can you? The new KLR, which for a dirt bike is absolutely insane. So, I mean, if you want to do some off-road riding or a lot of off-road riding, I suggest that you figure out how to disable the ABS. I did mine by adding a switch right here. It's actually labeled ABS. Look at that. And what that does is that controls the power to the ABS module. You can flip it on and off on the fly. It turns off, turns on. It never throws an engine code, and it does what it's supposed to do. It would literally be that simple for Kawasaki to make a button to turn on, turn off the ABS. I've noticed that most Japanese manufacturers are ultra conservative when it comes to software, and they always reset it to max safety when you turn the key off. So a simple button is not going to fly on a Kawasaki. They would have to figure out a way to make sure it reset back to maximum safety, which would mean ABS on in this case, right? Okay, trying to get these guys side by side is interesting, but I think we're, not quite. Not quite. But, I mean, you know, I keep calling this thing the best big little bike for a reason. So it looks like the BMW has a little bit longer wheelbase, but if you look at like wind protection, you know, there's the cockpit of the 300. You hop over here to the GS, and there's not a lot of difference here. The 300 is darn near as wide as the GS, so the wind protection is almost as good. Because of the design of the 300's fairing, it's not as good, but almost as good. And you could buy like 3 of these for what that costs. So Versys 300, I think it's a great option. Probably an overlooked option. And with a few mods, it's a fairly decent off-road bike. So anyway, just my thoughts. If they were helpful, great. If you have any questions, put them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. And thanks for watching. See you guys later. Take care of yourself and ride safe.